Welcome to one and all. We are going to continue our programming sessions. In this class, we will discuss about data types and data structures in R programming. So, again, I introduce myself. My name is K. Ram Mohan Rao. I am an assistant professor, belongs to Information Technology Department, Sasi Institute of Technology and Engineering. So in this class, we will discuss data types and vectors, matrix, and operators. So we know that data types and vectors and matrices, these two comes under data structures. So in this class, we will discuss what is a data type, what is the need of data type, and what are the different types we have in our programming. Then after, we will discuss the advanced data structures in our programming. So here we are having different data types in R: vectors, lists, matrices, data frames, factors. These are the things we will discuss in our session. So R data type. So we know what is a data type, why we need data types in a programming language in the sense. So in order to computer to perform some computation, first it should identify what is that data we have given. So this data type will mention what kind of data it is, so that it can perform the computational operations on that. For example, if we are having a data type like 2 integer, so when we are having 2 integers, when we know its data type, when we perform operation addition in between these two operations, 2 plus 2 will gives the 4. If these two numbers are the characters, then it will add one after other. For example, if we have defined two numbers 2 and 2 as a numeric, for example, see here I am taking A as 2 and B as 2. So here I am having A and B. If I have defined these two data types as numeric, then I perform addition operation between these two. A plus B will gives 2 plus 2 equal to 4. So if I print of C, so here what it happens, it performs addition computation between these two variables. Here we define these two as the numeric, it is the integer. So here I am saying in terms of our programming, these two will be considered as numeric. So whenever we consider these are the numeric, it gives an output as 4. If these A and B you are defined as characters, see how we define the characters, in the sense whatever the character, whatever the operand we have taken, that will be kept within the quotes. So here I am having 2, but here I am placing these 2 within the double quotes, so that these 2 will be defined as the data type of character. So this is the character data type now. So if I perform the addition operation between these two, then it will perform the concatenation operation among these two characters, so that it will give the output as 22. Again this 22 will be again a character. So based upon the data type, the operation has been changed. That's why we need to mention, or we need to give the data type to the given data. Not only this, but also based upon the given data type of the data, the memory will be allocated to that particular variables. So by considering all these things, data types will play a vital role. That's why we need to give the data to the type. So in order to know the data type of a particular variable, in our programming we have a function called type of. So this type of will gives the of A. So this type of A will gives the data type of that particular variable. As well as we also have another function called class. So class of A will gives output as numeric. So that's why we need to give the data type. So for performing the computations faster, for getting the memory optimization. So by considering all these things, we have to give we need to mention the data type of a data. So hope you understand the need of data types. So one of the key features of R is that it can handle complex statistical operations in easy and optimized way. And R handles complex computations using vectors, matrices. We know that vector is nothing but it is a collection of elements. So vector is a basic data structure of R containing the same type of data. So in the vector, we have said it is a collection of elements, but that collection of elements should be the same data types, so same heterogeneous. For example, if you are containing numeric, it should contains all the numeric values, or if suppose if it contains integer, it should contains all the integer values. If it is character, long or complex, it should contain all the complex values. So whenever you are containing a list of elements, those list of elements should be contain the same data type. If it is numeric, it should contain all the numeric values only. If it is character, it should contain all the character values only. And matrices. So matrix is a rectangular array of numbers or other mathematical objects. So we have different ways to create the matrix in our programming, by using matrix function, by using rbind, by using cbind, or by using dimensional functions. So by using all these kind of functions, we will create the matrix in our programming. And lists are nothing but a list is a data sequence. It contains all the elements. So list is also like a vector, but when it comes to the list, the difference between vector and list will be in the list it will contains different data types. Okay, it may contains numeric, it may contains characters, everything. When it comes to vector, it contains only a single element. And when it comes to data frames, by whenever we want to create the data with multiple rows and columns, we will use the data frame. So data frame is generated by combining together multiple vectors such that each vector becomes a separate column. So when it compares to previous things, even it is a matrix, there we used to have two-dimensional vectors, whereas matrix are two-dimensional vectors or two-dimensional arrays. So when it comes to data frame, by using this, we will create multiple rows, multiple columns. So here we have multiple vectors, each vector will be acts as a separate column here. So far we have discussed we are briefing the concepts what we have studied. Now we will go to the things with examples. So in R programming, the very basic data types are R objects. So R objects are nothing but the vectors. So already we have given the definition for vector. Vector, it contains a collection of elements, but this collection of elements are homogeneous. So whatever the data type, whatever the element we are having in that sequence, so all those elements are in the same data type, which holds the element of different classes. And C function, which means that it is the combine function. See that here we are creating a vector called apple. So we are creating to combine, these are the red, green, yellow, all these are belongs to character. So all these characters are combined. So in order to create a vector, we need to use the combine function. So when we not use the combine function, what it will happens in the sense, it will fetch the only one value from the list in the vector. For example, see here, red is the first element in the vector. So that whenever we call or whenever we print that vector, it will print the only red only. So if in order to access all the elements in the vector, we supposed to use this combine function. See, when we have used when we haven't used this combine function, what will happens in the sense, the vector will become the scalar. So what do you mean by the scalar in the sense? Scalar is a vector which contains only a single element. So for example, here see, we are having apple. So if I am using without combine function, what it will happens in the sense, I am writing the same, right? green. So here I am having the vector. So if I am print the apple now, so in our programming, even though without write print, you can also print by directly writing the variable name. So here I am writing apple. So what result it will gives in the sense, it gives the result of red only. Why? Because we haven't mentioned the combine function. So if we mention the combine function, it will combine all the elements in that vector, and it will gives the access or the complete vector. So if I am using combine function here, then it will gives the output of the same instruction, it gives the output of green also. So we need to, we are not supposed to forget the combine function. Okay, the next. So in order to know the class, in order to know the type of this vector, we will use the function class. We already discussed about it. We have different functions identify the type of the data, that is class, and we also have mode, we also have type of. So these are the different functions we have. So we have discussed that these data types in R can be logical, integer, double, character, complex. So there are different types of data types. So in order to know the data type, we use the type of, one can check the data type of that vector. One more significant property of R vector is its length. So in order to know the length of the vector, we need to use the basic function of length. And we also have different built-in functions like min, max, maxima. So there are different of statistical and built-in functions in R. So we will discuss one by one at a time. So here see in this example, we are using the length function. We have used a function, we have used a vector 2, 3, 5, and we have printed it, and by using the length function, we identify the length of that vector. Here we are having 5 characters. So when we use the length function, it gives the output as 5. So simply it will gives how many number of elements are available. It doesn't matter how many words or how many characters it having. So these elements are separated by this column, commas. So based upon this comma, it will print the length of the given vector. So here we are going to discuss what are the different types of data types. Here we are having logical. So we know this logicals are the Boolean data types which are represented with true or false. So here we have taken the true as a value, and it has given to the variable v, and we print the class of this v. So it will gives the output as logical. And we have another data type, that is numeric. So basically in other programming language, the numeric and floats are different, but when it comes to R programming, the integer value and float values are represented with the single data type, that is numeric. So see this number 12.3. In any other programming language, 12.3 it means it is the float value, 5 means it is the integer value. But when it comes to R, it will be, both will be treated as numeric data type only. So when we have print the type of this class 23.5, it will give us the output as numeric. Even if we have used the 5, it will gives you the output as numeric only. And integer. So when we have long, we used to mention long numbers in the other programming languages, we have a data type called long. But when it comes to when it comes to our programming language, we used to call them as the data type of integer. So in C, Python or Java programming, whenever we are having long numbers, we conclude those numbers with the last number as L. So the same way here also we will represent the same, but instead of calling long, here we used to call them as data type of integer. So just to mention the class of v, we have taken the variable v and we assign the value to 2L. So when we supposed to know the type of it, we either use type of or class or mode. Here we are using the function as class, it gives the output as integer. So likewise we have complex numbers 3 plus 2a, so that is the imaginary numbers. So the complex numbers is as same as in any other programming language, here also the same 3 plus 2i. So we know the class function, class, it will gives the output as the class of this real and imaginary number as complex. And we have character. So see here, a, good, true, 23.4. So if it is any single scalar or if it is any numeric kind of data type, so those two things will be disclosed with a single quote, and the remaining numbers, whenever we are having multiple characters, those will be within the double quotes. We should remember this when it is a numeric or scalar, the scalar or numeric will be disclosed with a single quote, other than the remaining things will be kept within the double quotes. So this will represented with the data type of character. So you know how many bytes it takes for characters, it will take more than 6 bytes based upon the length of the vector. So in order to know the class of it, we assign true and we kept it in the double quotes so that it will be treated as character, and we assign to a variable called v and we print the class of that vector. So that is stored in the variable v. So when we have printed that, it will produce the output as character. So and this is ra is nothing but, so here we will store the characters into the form of numericals. So here hello is stored as 4865 6c 6c 6f. So each character will have a number. For h it will have 48, for e it will be 65, and l 6c 6c. So these are the character numbers, the new alphanumeric numbers for those characters. So we are storing the characters into the form of these alphanumerics, and it will produce as the output like this. So these are the different data types in R programming. So now we are going to the data structures. So in the data structures in R programming, we have several concepts like list, matrix, and arrays, data frames, and factors. So these are the different advanced data structures we are having in R. So first we will see what is a list. A list is a set of elements, and each of these elements are homogeneous. So whatever the elements we are having, so all these elements are into the same data type. So here we have created a list called list1, and we'll create the list, we have to use a function called list, and along with that list we need to use the combine function, and we will take the multiple elements here. And when it comes to list, you can create a list with the multiple lists also. So by considering two lists, we can create a new list. So here we are having a list 2, 5, 3, and after that we are having two values. It will be printed as 2, 5, 3 as a separate list, 21.3 will be a separate list, and the last sin will be a separate list. So see here, in this we have created a list with the multiple elements. So we printed the list what we have, those are the, it will be considered as a separate list, so that the remaining elements are 21.3 and sin was displayed as a separate list. Otherwise, for example, if I am taking a list here, so if I am taking a list like this, it is not a collection of multiple lists, it is just collection of multiple elements. So if I print this, so then it will produce the output as 2, 3, 5. So what is the difference between this output and this will be the here we are designed a list with the multiple lists. So once 2 comma 5 comma 3 will be a list, so that what it happens in the sense the remaining elements are also becomes the list. That's why they are displayed as a separate list in the output. Here it is the collection of elements, so it will be displayed as a single list, and it will display the elements of that list. And we can also access the elements from the list. So for example, if I want to access the first element from the list, then I will use list and I will mention the index size. So by mentioning the index size, I can take out the element from the list. So here 2 will be the list 1 we have in that, so it will give the output as 2. As well as you can also create the list with the sequence. So by using sequence, I have taken 1:4, so that by using this sequence, what it will happen in the sense, it will create the elements count from 1, 2, 3, 4. So by using sequence function also we can create the list. So far we discussed how to create the list and how to access the elements from the list. And we can also create the lists with multiple lists. So list 1 comma list 2. And we can also use different functions like min of list, max of list, length, sum of list, minima, maximum, so like this we have a number of functions. We will discuss what are these functions in the built-in functions concept. So we have statistical functions and built-in functions are. So in further sessions we will discuss about these functions. So these functions can be applied on this list. So next one is matrix. So matrix is a two-dimensional array. Here rectangular dataset, it can be created using the vector input to the matrix function. So here a comma a, b, c, a, b. So this vector will be given as the input to the matrix function. So by using this vector, this matrix will define or create a matrix. So we already discussed a matrix can be created in number of ways. By default everyone will use the matrix function to create the matrix. And this n row and n column, will discuss the number of rows in the matrix, and this n column will discuss the number of columns in the matrix, and by row equal to true. So by default, whenever we have taken this argument by row, so the row will be created on the basis on the column. So whatever the elements you have given, so that elements will be first the column will be constructed, then the next column will be constructed. Like that, column wise the elements will be placed in the matrix. We will see that in example. So the syntax is already discussed. Matrix of vector row value n column value comma by row true. So this is the syntax for matrix. So matrix is the function which is used to create a matrix. So vector, what are the elements we need to create that matrix? We will use this vector. N row and n column, either you can mention n row or n column, or you can directly mention the value to it. If you have mentioned 2 comma 2, it means it will be a 2 rows and 2 columns vector. So by row is equal to true. If you haven't mentioned true, then it will create the matrix by the column wise. So here we are having A, B, C, B, A. So it is a 2 row and 3 columns, and we have mentioned the row wise as true. So it will be creating the values. First we have first value has taken A, B. We have mentioned n rows. We have mentioned 2 rows only. So and 3 columns. That's why we have taken A, B, C, B, A. If suppose if we are we haven't mentioned this by row equal to true, so by default it will be print the values in the column wise. So it will be, then the output will be like this: A, B, C, B, A. So see the difference between these two outputs. When we have mentioned by row is equal to true, the values will be constructed in the matrix in the row wise. So it has 2 rows, A, B. So the first row is over, C, B, A. So there will be 2 rows, 3 columns. So when we comes to here, we have taken by row equal to true, we have left this. So by default we know that the matrix will be constructed in the column wise. That's why it will be like this. Here also the rows are 2, columns are 3, but see the difference. So the elements are filled with the column wise. So A. In previous A and rows columns are 3, so that B as again went to third column. But here we are filling these values into the column wise. So the A will be filled in the first column itself. Then after the element to enter into the next column. So this how the elements will be fetched. And whenever we want to access, we can access the values from by mentioning the index 1 comma, that's it. So by suppose I want to print 1 comma 1 from this value, then it will display the output as A. Okay, sorry, we have taken the variable as matrix, so it will give us the value of that will be A. Suppose if it is 1 comma 2, then it will be A comma B. If you haven't mentioned anything, it will gives the complete row, that as A comma A, B, C. So you have seen the difference this. So if you have mentioned A comma 2, so here it 1 will represents the row, but you haven't mentioned the column. Okay, so that every column value that represents the row value will be displaced. So this is how you can display or you can access the values from a matrix. So this is one way. Here we have created the matrix by using this matrix function.